Okay, so we're gonna look at the items that came in the top of the box. So you got number one, that's the blade wrench, and then you have the material clamp. Okay, and then you have the lock washers and the wing nuts. Okay, and then you have the dust bag. Okay, and then you have the base extension right and the base extension left. Okay, and then you have your instruction manual. And so then you also have these clamps here that are going to be attached to the saw also. So now we'll move on to the next step where we start to look at how all these items go together. Okay, so now I lifted the saw out of the box, and it still has some protection on a lot of the items that move around. I'm going to take all of those off, and then we'll go ahead and put this saw together. Okay, now that I have all the protective cushion and padding off of it, you can see that what we have to do to release the saw from being in its locked position is they have this pin here, and on this pin you just press down a bit, pull the pin out, and it will release the saw so that it'll be in a standing up unlocked position. You also will use that pin to, when you want to close it back down. Okay, so now you have the ability to rotate your saw angle and things of that nature, and it comes with the blade already on it. Okay, so you got your 12-inch blade already on it, and now we're going to go ahead and start putting together the rest of the components to the saw to get it ready to go. Okay, so now you have to tip the saw over and locate this bolt right here. And what that bolt does is you will take this and put it here. Okay, and we looked at the items that came in the package. It's kind of difficult for me to videotape and put this on together. I might have to, but basically I could show you where it goes, and then I'll put it together off camera and then come back. So this right here goes into this little U-shaped pieces that they have. That holds up in there, and then this clamp that you have that comes with it is actually going to go on it to hold it in place. And then you have your lock washer and your nut, your wing nut, and then that's going to be what holds this guide in place. So I'll put it on both sides, because this is the side, same thing on the other side, and the same items. And then I'll come back and we'll move to the next. Okay, so this is how it should look once you complete putting on these guides here. So you don't really need a tool to tighten down this wing nut. You tighten it down enough to make sure that the washer, the lock washer behind it, is depressed, so that it'll hold this wing nut together and not have this get loose with the vibrations of the machine. So you do that on both sides. I didn't use a wrench or anything. I just finger tightened it, made sure that it was tightened all the way down so that it won't go backwards, but I didn't want to put a tool on it and risk stripping the screws. So now all that's together, we're going to turn it back over and put the rest of the parts on. Okay, so the saw comes with a blade already on it. Mine came with the blade already on it. However, a lot of people want to know, okay, if I have to change the blade, or if it didn't come with a blade, how do I get the blade on? Okay, so one of the things that you have to do is you got to recognize that on the back side, they have a button that you depress, and it's right here. And what this does is it locks the saw blade so that it won't spin when you're on the other side with your saw blade wrench and you're trying to take it apart. Okay, so that right there, keep that in mind. And then when we go to the other side, here is where you have the protective shield. When you lift that back, then you see that you have a nut right here. Okay, it is a nut on here, and then this piece right here holds the saw in place. So what you have to do is you have to be able to take this screw out so that you can access it, and there is another screw right here, and that will allow you to lift that plate to uncover this screw, and then the wrench that came with it, as this wrench right here, will fit into that nut, and then you can press the button in the back to hold the saw in place, and then you can untighten it, and once you untighten it, you'll be able to slide the blade off and change the blade if you need to. But as I said, mine came with the blade already on there. Just wanted to show you that in case you wanted to change it. Okay, so next you have a dust bag, and the dust bag attaches right here. Okay, so we showed you the dust bag before, but the only thing that you have to do with the dust bag is it attaches right here, and you just slide that on, slide it in place, and so you can slide it on tightly, and it will collect the dust when you are using the saw. So that's that piece, and then the other piece that you have is you have this piece, and what this piece does, this here, goes into this slot. Okay, and then when you put your wood on the saw, you have the ability to tighten it down to hold it in place to make sure you get your correct cuts. And you can take this and put this on the other side also in this hole. See the hole there? Put it in the hole there, and then you can tighten it down to whatever size of wood that you're going to be cutting with. So that's the other piece that we talk now. Now what we have is everything is all together, and the saw is ready to roll. Oh, another feature that I wanted to tell you about is when you are, so you see that you have the degrees of the cut measured in numbers here, and you can turn this saw by depressing this button, and then you can turn it, and this arrow here will go to the amount of degrees that you want to cut your wood at. So you can go straight, would be at 0 for a straight cut, and then of course you got all the way to 60 on the right side, and you got all the way to 50 on the left side. Most of the time you're going to be cutting 45 degree angles, things of that nature. So you see that it'll go to 45 and it'll go past that. Okay, another feature that you have is you have the ability to lock it in place so that the point that you set it at will not move while you are operating it. It'll keep it in place by pressing that down. If you want to move it again, you bring that up, and then it unlocks it so that you can move it to wherever it is that you want it to go. Okay, so now the next thing is this is a sliding miter saw. So when you want to make it slide, this is the nut that you have to loosen up so that it has the ability to slide back and forth. And this is what's going to give you the ability to cut your wood at the larger pieces of wood. So you can slide it all the way to the back, but then you can slide it all the way out with the larger pieces of wood, cut down and then bring it back, and that will slide back and forth. Okay, so that's another good feature about the Dewalt Bevel. Now, the other piece is that you see the red arrow back there. That's set at 0. If you wanted to change the ability to cut at an angle, and this is Dewalt Bevel, so you can change it. You can have a 0 on this side, and then you have a 0 on that side. So if you wanted to change the angle that you were cutting, you can rotate it that way, and it has the measurements of how many degrees you're going to cut that way. But then Dewalt Bevel, it also will allow you to rotate it the other way, so that you don't have to flip your crown molding, things of that nature. You don't have to flip that over in order to have that work. Okay, another piece that you have is a safety device where before you can pull that trigger, get your hands out the way, and then you have to pull the safety back before you can pull the trigger to be able to engage the saw blade. So those are a number of the features that's on there. Really love this saw. It's going to get a whole lot of work done over here at this old house. So thank you for the opportunity to share that with you. I hope it helps someone. And give a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. If you have comments or if it's something that I missed, then write that down in on the video so I could go back and make sure that I'm learning